Hello and welcome to the Minimum Competence episode for Friday, November 8th, 2024. I'm your host for today, Andrew Leahy, a tax and technology attorney from New Jersey. On today's episode, we cover a judge dismissing claims against Mark Zuckerberg in a social media addiction lawsuit, OpenAI's copyright lawsuit win, a ruling blocking Biden's immigration program, and Rudy Giuliani facing contempt over asset transfers. Let's remember, we have made it to the weekend and read today's legal news. On this day in legal history, November 8th, 1923, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party launched a failed coup known as the Beer Hall Putsch in Munich, Germany. Hitler, alongside other far-right leaders, sought to overthrow the Weimar Republic by forcibly taking control of the Bavarian government and inspiring a national revolution. The plan was set into motion when Hitler and his supporters stormed a Munich beer hall where Bavarian officials were gathered, intending to coerce them into backing the coup. However, the attempt quickly unraveled. As the Nazis marched through Munich, they were met with resistance from police forces, resulting in a violent confrontation that left 15 Nazi supporters and 4 police officers dead. The coup collapsed within hours, and Hitler was subsequently arrested and tried for treason. Sentenced to 5 years in prison, he served only 1, but used this time to dictate Mein Kampf, a manifesto outlining his extremist ideology and future plans for Germany. Though the Beer Hall Putsch was a spectacular tactical failure, it marked a significant turning point for Hitler and the Nazi Party. The publicity surrounding Hitler's trial and imprisonment gave him a national platform, which he used to spread his message and gain a wider following. The failed coup illustrated both the fragility of the Weimar Republic and the determination of extremist groups to challenge democratic governance in Germany. This foreshadowed the political upheaval that would follow in the coming years. A federal judge has once again dismissed claims seeking to hold Mark Zuckerberg personally responsible in multiple lawsuits accusing Meta and other social media companies of causing addictive behavior in children. U.S. District Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers found that the updated complaints failed to meet the legal standards required to establish Zuckerberg's individual liability. While this ruling removes Zuckerberg as an individual defendant, it does not affect the ongoing claims against Meta as a company. Plaintiffs argue that Zuckerberg ignored internal warnings from Meta employees regarding the potential dangers of Instagram and Facebook for younger users, allegedly concealing this information from the public. Corporate law traditionally shields CEOs from personal liability, making it challenging to hold Zuckerberg accountable without clear evidence of direct involvement. Judge Rogers noted that although future evidence might reveal more direct actions by Zuckerberg, the present allegations do not meet the threshold for corporate officer liability. This legal action is part of a broader litigation effort involving over 1,000 lawsuits by families and school districts in California against Meta, Google, ByteDance, and Snap, alleging similar harms related to social media addiction among adolescents. A federal judge in New York dismissed a copyright lawsuit brought by news outlets Raw Story and Alternet against OpenAI, ruling that the plaintiffs had not shown a concrete injury. The outlets argued that OpenAI unlawfully used their articles to train its AI models, including ChatGPT, and violated the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or DMCA, by removing copyright management information from the articles, such as author names and copyright notices. However, U.S. District Judge Colleen McMahon determined that removing CMI alone without further dissemination or significant harm did not meet the required threshold for legal standing under the DMCA. Judge McMahon permitted the plaintiffs to submit an amended complaint but expressed skepticism about their ability to present a valid claim. According to McMahon, the real issue seemed to be the uncompensated use of the articles for training purposes rather than the removal of CMI. Although Raw Story and Alternet attorney Matt Topic stated confidence in addressing the court's concerns through amendments, McMahon warned that the case might lack a viable legal theory under current copyright laws. The lawsuit aligns with a broader wave of legal actions from media, authors, and artists who are challenging AI companies over the use of copyrighted material in model training. In a related development, the New York Times filed a similar lawsuit against OpenAI in December, marking the first major challenge from a media outlet over AI training practices. A federal judge in Texas has struck down President Biden's immigration program aimed at providing a citizenship path for certain undocumented immigrants married to U.S. citizens. The Keeping Families Together initiative, announced in June, targeted approximately 500,000 individuals but faced immediate legal challenges from Texas and several Republican-led states. U.S. District Judge J. Campbell Barker ruled that the program overstepped Biden's executive authority, leaving it blocked as Biden's term nears its end. The initiative has been a focal point in the political landscape, with immigration considered a top priority issue. Former President Donald Trump, who defeated Vice President Kamala Harris in the recent election, is expected to implement strict immigration policies, including potential rollbacks of Biden's program. A recent Reuters Ipsos poll indicates that Americans expect Trump to prioritize immigration enforcement, with many anticipating large-scale deportations. While the Biden administration could appeal the ruling, the White House has not yet commented on potential next steps. A federal judge has warned Rudy Giuliani, former New York City mayor and attorney for Donald Trump, that he could be held in civil contempt if he doesn't comply with a court order to surrender certain assets. Giuliani was ordered in October to turn over property, including his Manhattan apartment and other valuables, to Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss, two Georgia election workers whom he defamed. Freeman and Moss won a $148 million judgment against Giuliani after a jury found he had spread false accusations that they helped rig the 2020 election. Judge Louis Lyman expressed frustration with Giuliani's delays, giving him until next week to meet the court's demand. The plaintiff's attorney, Aaron Nathan, suggested Giuliani may be shifting assets to avoid collection, including opening new bank accounts and forming a new LLC. Giuliani, meanwhile, claims he is cooperating and accused the plaintiffs of being vindictive, citing their attempt to seize a family heirloom watch. Judge Lyman dismissed that argument, affirming that the heirloom was still subject to seizure under the law. Giuliani recently filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, but his case was dismissed after he failed to disclose his full financial situation, removing his legal protections from creditors. This comes as Giuliani faces broader legal challenges, including disbarment and criminal charges related to efforts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia and Arizona. And with that, I thank you so much for listening to Minimum Competence, your daily news podcast for lawyers. If you're looking for more than Minimum Competence, links to further reading on all the topics touched on today are in the show notes. And reviews go a long way towards helping new listeners to find our show. If you have a moment, you can leave a rating or review on your podcast player. We'd appreciate it. And if you know someone that might be interested in a story we cover, consider sending them the episode. But remember, nothing here should be construed as legal advice because it is certainly not that. Minimum Competence is available at minimumcomp.com and wherever it is you get your finely crafted podcasts. If you haven't checked out the website in a while, give it a look. There are complete transcripts and resources for each episode and its corresponding segments, as well as an opportunity to receive new episodes in email, newsletter, form. We'll see you back here on Monday, and until then, note, we like to close out the week of shows with a featured musical piece. That makes these Friday episodes seem especially long, but we hope you'll stick it out and enjoy the featured piece. But if music, and specifically classical music, isn't your bag, we get it. Our mouth sounds unrelated to the week's closing music ends here. This week's closing theme is Antonin Dvorak's Piano Quintet No. 2 in A major, Opus 81, one of the most beloved chamber works in the Romantic repertoire. Composed in 1887, this quintet exemplifies Dvorak's talent for weaving Czech folk music elements into classical forms, creating a vibrant work filled with expressive melodies and rhythmic vitality. Dvorak had already achieved international acclaim by this time, and his music was celebrated for its distinctive blend of Slavic folk traditions and classical elegance. In this quintet, he masterfully combines lyrical beauty with an earthy, folk-inspired character, making it both accessible and profoundly moving. The piece opens with an allegro ma non tanto, which means fast, but not too much, where a lush cello theme sets a warm and expansive mood that's developed between the strings and piano. The second movement, a dumka, draws on traditional Slavic musical form that alternates between melancholic and lively sections, allowing for both introspection and joy. Dvorak contrasts this with a lively furiant for the third movement, featuring energetic cross rhythms that mimic Czech dance patterns, adding excitement and rhythmic playfulness. The quintet closes with a spirited finale, where Dvorak's signature energy and folk influences shine through in a triumphant, sweeping conclusion. Throughout, the dialogue between piano and strings feels rich and conversational, each instrument playing a unique role in the music's storytelling. The Piano Quintet No. 2 captures Dvorak at the height of his compositional powers, blending technical mastery with deep national pride and an unmistakable romantic warmth. It's an ideal selection to end the week on a vibrant and emotionally rich note, as Dvorak's music reminds us of the beauty in blending tradition with innovation. Without further ado, Antonin Dvorak's Piano Quintet No. 2 in A major, Opus 81. Enjoy.